Thank you for taking the time to view this tutorial. This session will cover the Section 811 program and explain how to apply for the funding. In this session, I will provide an overview of the program, including eligible properties and program requirements, and explain how to apply for funding and how you could use 811 with a tax credit application. The 811 program is a supportive housing program for people with disabilities. The program provides project-based rental assistance for eligible properties. It works just like the Section 8 program. Tenants pay 30% of their income for rent and utilities. The program pays the difference between the tenant rent and the gross rent. The rents are limited to 50% AMI and cannot exceed the fair market rent. A major difference for this program from the LTH supportive housing units that many of you are used to doing is that the owner is not responsible for finding eligible tenants or a service provider. All tenants for the units are referred to the property by a housing coordinator at the Department of Human Services, who manages the waitlist for all 811 units. Services are provided by local service providers. Properties that are eligible for 811 are a multifamily building with 5 or more units that are applying for capital financing in the 2016 RFP. No more than 25% of the units can be set aside for people with disabilities, and that includes any long-term homeless supportive housing units. The 811 unit should be dispersed throughout the property and not restricted to a certain part of the building. Also, a portion of the unit should be accessible for people with mobility impairments. The property should be located in an area with easy access to transportation, services, and community amenities. The 811 Program Guide has a list of the cities and counties that DHS has determined have a need for units for the target population. And the owner or management agent must have experience administering Section 8. Selected owners will enter into a 20-year rental assistance contract, and a 30-year use agreement will be recorded for the property. The initial contract will provide 5 years of funding with annual renewals after that. Ongoing funding will depend on federal appropriations. The property management agent will use tracks to submit tenant vouchers for payments and use the EIV system for income verification. The owner is expected to conduct annual UPCS inspections. Minnesota Housing will conduct inspections at least once every 3 years. The property must also meet HUD's environmental requirements, which will be done through our standard environmental review process. To apply for the 811 funding, a pre-application is required before the Consolidated Multifamily RFP. It is due on May 2nd and includes a brief narrative, a few sections of the workbook, and a statement of known environmental issues. On the workbook, you will need to indicate that you're applying for Section 811 PRA on the Funding Request tab. You will also fill in information on the Sources tab on the Rental Assistance Sources table. Instructions are provided with the pre-application information. We will review the pre-application and notify you of your eligibility for the program by May 17th. This can help you determine your options for rental assistance for the development and decide if you want to take points for special populations on the tax credit score sheet. The RFP and tax credit applications are due on June 16th. For tax credit applications, the 811 PRA can be used for units targeted for special populations. Developers may consider taking the special population points under the household targeting section for the proposed 811 units. If the points are taken, the special populations restriction will be recorded in the tax credit legal documents. We will have release valve language similar to what we have for LTH units. Owners will be released from the requirement if the 811 PRA funding goes away. To receive the special population points, you will need to submit a letter from the county stating that the necessary services are available for the population. If the county has questions about the Section 811 program, they can contact one of our staff for more information. An important point to remember is that the 811 PRA can't be used for any of the LTH units in your application. Those are totally separate. You also can't take points for secured rental assistance for these units, since selection for 811 rental assistance will be determined through the RFP selection process. For more information about the 811 program, please visit the 811 PRA program page on our website. On that page, you can find the 811 program guide, as well as the HUD regulations and the templates for the rental assistance contract, the use agreement, and the model lease. And as always, please contact us with your questions.